Welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of Walking with the Master. I have in my presence and in your presence right now, a genuine martial artist. What does that mean? That is someone who is not one who prescribes to do something in words, but he is one who has shown his integrity in his actions. Also, as you know, this is all about Doc. You know, it's about the legacy of Doc and where others have gone from that. And when we say legacy, there are so many that we have to mention. But this is one in particular. This brother here who you have in front of you is another very good friend of mine, a wonderful person, a beautiful brother, and a particularly great martial artist. You know, and you always know the great ones are the ones that don't prescribe to that kind of talk. They're the ones that always want to be humble, and I know that that's how this brother is. Now he's known as Sabanim David Herbert, and you know, with me, Sabanim, I mean, you can just correct me right now, right in front of everybody. But is the title Sabanim or Quadranim? A lot of people take on the terminology in terms of the title, and they make it a name. So your name has become or been Sabanim David Herbert, but I know that you have reached a great degree in what you have done in the systems outside of Sanukis and in Sanukis, as well as Kumiteru Jiu-Jitsu, of course. So is Quadranim or Sabanim the terminology for the title?
Well, you know, I'm called by many things. You're going to hear even Sabo, you're going to hear Sabu, Professor Bill calls me Sab, okay? You're going to hear Shihan Dave, you have many things, right? So, you know, I'm not hung up on what people call me, honestly. But in terms of Quanjaning, Nim, and Sabumnim, there's a Sabumnim and Sabunim, and it's actually two different terms. Most people don't know that. So a Sabumnim is like Shihan at school, basically, right? And a master. A Sabunim is a different type of title. It's similar but different. It's more of a fatherly, approachable, and open type of master. So they're from two different lines. So yes, I go by Sabunim because the Sabumnim in Korea is a little more. And you've met many Sabunims, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Right, so it's a whole different field. So Sabunim is fine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You know, thank you for that. That's the first time that I've heard that that view in terms of knowledge of that. Thank you for that. But welcome, my brother, Grand Master David Herbert. Welcome to our show. Now I want you to know, as I told others too, you know, this is not my show. This is our show. So this is the first time that you're on this, but it is about you and others. And I'm thankful to have you present on this here. So thank you. And everybody out there, now you have the opportunity to let somebody else know. So make sure that one, you subscribe to the official Grand Master Anthony Muhammad YouTube channel, and also notify some other people so that they can also take advantage of the knowledge that is going to be presented, that's always presented on this show. Thank you. All right, so Sabanim, let me ask you, in terms of where you connected with Doc and Dr. Moses Powell, Soke Littlejohn Davis, when you connected with Sanukis, could you go over that? We want to just go into the root a little bit, and then we're going to move on from there.
Okay, so the root goes back pretty far. Most people don't know this. When I was 11, I came across a brother called Sam. He was with the nation. He was one of the most outstanding and upstanding gentlemen I've ever met. Back in that day, back in that time, you know, the streets were the streets, and we all know what the streets are like. We used to do jokes. Somebody would say, hey, my father got me a brand new bed. And one would say, you got a bed? Another would say, you got a father? That's what it was like. You know, the drugs were everywhere. And back then, I don't know if this will happen now, but what they call fresh direct today, okay, the nation started way back then. And it started with a knock on the door. All right, and Brother Carl was there, right? He spoke about eating right, nutrition. And I remember there was some kind of agreement with a fish coming from somewhere in South America, fresh fruits and vegetables. And Brother Carl was the only one in the neighborhood that made some sense. He talked about the future. He talked about having discipline, about having respect, about respecting, you know, your seniors, respecting your brothers, respecting your mother, respecting your wife. You know, and also he had an ideal family. He had a beautiful wife, a lovely daughter. You know, Brother Carl never used foul language. He was always dressed nice. He was an outstanding citizen. He started a martial arts program in the projects on Staten Island, Richmond Terrace, 476 Richmond Terrace. And it was to bring the kids together. So I actually started with him. Unfortunately, that was the time of the Rockefeller laws, which are still in place now. And the powers that be on Staten Island did not like the idea of this Black man bringing these Black kids together.
Wow.
And putting them on a straight path.
Yes.
And back then we had the barber shops and other places that would give the kids, you know, here's $1. Take this bag over there and take that bag over there. And as kids, you know, we didn't know what's in the bag. We don't know much about drugs, but that was going on. Brother Carl was the one that would step up to these guys and say, listen, this ain't happening. Don't do this. If I got to come back here, I'm gonna handle this. So he was that kind of man, that kind of brother. So what happened, he got set up. He got set up by the police, the 120th precinct, to be exact, on Richmond Terrace in Staten Island. And he went into one of those places to talk to these guys. So listen, you just stop doing this. And what happened was, it was a setup. The cops came and they raided, they got everybody. Because as you know, how those laws work. You know, you could be anywhere else in a different kind of community.
That's right.
One person has something on him, the cops take him in for questioning, and they'll usually get out anyway, by the way. But now you go to a place where there are people of a different complexion. If one person has one thing on them, they take everybody.
Yes.
Everybody. And they make it almost impossible, you know, to get representation to see. I mean, anyway, he got sent to Attica. And that was the beginning of a big awakening for me, because I realized that the cards are stacked against us. And he had mentioned that, right? So he is actually my first teacher, right? My real to the hardcore teacher that basically propelled me on the right path for the rest of my life from what I got from him. So after that, there was Grand Master Billy Davis, who opened up a school. He was Sanukas, not in front of my house. My brother was the first one there, because at the time, I ended up going to Chinatown because there were no more martial arts on Staten Island. And one day my brother said, let me teach you something. My little brother, he said, I bet I can throw you with 2 fingers. So meanwhile, I knew nothing about falling. And he says, he grabbed me like this. He said, step this way. And I stepped and he did, bang! And knocked the wind out of me, rocked my world. To my little brother. So after that, it was on. I went to Grand Master Billy Davis. And through Grand Master Billy Davis, I came across Doc, right? And Master V, who were coming in to visit. And that's how I learned about Sanukas. Now, Grand Master Billy Davis' school moved a lot. It closed a lot. And a lot, you know, and that was, you know how it is. When you're training in real martial arts, it's hard to keep real students because you got real rent to pay.
Yes.
You know, if you teach the watered down stuff, you used to have 200 students, but you're like making it real. Next you know, you got 20 students. If the 20 students can't make the rent, you're not gonna make it. So that's what happened. So long story short, all right, started going around the tournaments, competing, and I came across Chris Colombo. And he told me, because I seen the patch. I said, wait a minute, where are you from? And he was somewhere up north, but he had Soke's patch. I said, how do I find him? And that was on 123rd Street. And that was that. From there, we continue. So that's basically kind of my short Sanukas history. Now, I have always done a lot of research. Brother Carl taught me to do that, to research and to research everything. And he also taught me that there are good things in every culture.
Yes.
You have to find the things that work best for you. That everything might not work for you, but there are things you can learn, to not stay in a little small box. So I did notice that there were these people, they looked like they were Chinese, but they weren't Chinese. They speak Chinese, writing was different, and they had a martial arts. But I did notice this, because I had a friend who moved away. He was also a student of Jiu-Jitsu Sanukas. He moved away to Long Island. He was only gone for 3 or 4 months, but he couldn't stand it in Long Island, so he came back to the city and he stayed with us. But I noticed that his conditioning changed. There was something different. And I said, show me what you've been learning. And I was surprised. Look, when you're 16 years old and your friend's jumping over a car, literally like in the movies, literally jumping over a car, flying sidekick, you go like, wait now. And he was doing that. Now, times have changed, because back then, Korean martial arts was martial arts. Now, a lot of it is dance, and by design and on purpose, because now they don't want the real stuff out there. But back then, they wanted to prove how good their martial arts was. So I said, let me study not just their martial arts, but let me study the people. And I noticed something, that the culture was very solid, very grounded in respect, in courtesy, in discipline, in family, in designing a good life, making a strong living. And I said, wow, I could use this. I could use this. So that was my journey into Korean martial arts. And I was fortunate because I kept coming across top masters. Yeah, I worked with Grand Master David Herbert. We worked at United Cerebral Palsy of Staten Island together. He's an adaptive equipment specialist. He's a physiologist. He actually has 4 degrees on how to work with the body and a 5th degree in business. And we used to work together. We just worked, and then I noticed he did martial arts. So then we trained. And actually, I convinced him to open up a school. And now he's actually a multimillionaire. He doesn't teach anymore because he can't teach the way he used to teach. He even told me. The Korean government came to him and said, you could not teach this way. So you must teach for sport. He says, you teach for kill, for fight. But now you must teach for sport. And that's what happened to most Korean martial arts. And what they did, they watered it down and they made it really easy to build a school. They got a lot of support from the government. And the ones that were not down with the program didn't get support. So that's what happened. So I was lucky. I had him, I had Grand Master Cole, who was the vice president of the World Pro Aikido Federation, who had to come over here because he beat up a few people on the West Coast because it was very racist. They thought he was Chinese. A group tried to get him, and he broke him up. So he had to come over here and stay with Grandmaster Choi. And then there was Grandmaster Choi, who's actually here right now. He does healing every Thursday. Oh yeah, he's there. Thinks it's my father. Right? And then I was lucky enough to get training with Grandmaster Byung-Min Kim, who's Tiger Kim's brother, who was phenomenal. So I was just fortunate, very fortunate. I just kept stepping into the right situation, and officially, I have 2 8th degrees with the Korean Hapkido Federation, and also World Professional, which is basically licensed bodyguards, honestly. Right, and I'm fortunate to have also rank from Grandmaster Byung-Min Kim, 8th Dan, right, and also Lee Gak-soo, who was head of it's called the Fighting Taekwondo Federation, because they're not down with all the dancing stuff and that light stuff. They're more the original people. So I'm lucky, but I'm also lucky because I'm fortunate to be part of this family and have an 8th in the VSK, which is like. That's family,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know how much more I should say about that stuff, but my life practice, it is martial arts, but it's much more than the physical, because there's the mental, there's the emotional, there's the spiritual, there's also the social, and there's the economical, right? So to really survive in today's times, we really got to understand all those dimensions, because we are all under attack. And the sorry thing is most people don't know it. They don't know that there's a big mechanism that's been put into place. It's been designed before we were born, okay? And they keep upgrading it. And I know this because of a lot of my experiences that things that happened that didn't make sense. Like even on Atlantic Avenue, there's an Atlantic Avenue business group, right? I didn't know that there were issues with this black man, because this black man didn't do anything that caused anybody to have any issues with him. You know, I make friends wherever I go. But I discovered when some of my employees were telling me, listen, we're getting calls about this black man that works here and they want to get him fired. And they realized that I think they're talking about you. So, oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's, you know, there's gentrification, but you hear that and it sounds like, okay, it's an instant thing, but there's much more to it. Okay, you want to think about this. Most of this land had many different nations. Gentrification came in. Where are the Canarsie Indians? We know about Canarsie, Brooklyn, but people don't know those were Canarsie Indians there. I shouldn't even call them Indians, because that's also kind of derogatory.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. So what happened to where'd the Sioux go? Where'd the Apache go? Right? So back then, they made stories up and they forced Indians to protect themselves. And they used that to annihilate and to exterminate almost every man, woman, and child. That's what they did.
Let me ask this, like with that in mind, and you know the way things are even at this time, it is forcing us to, you know, come in and get together and be more of a unit. Now let's take it on this level. Now there is, of course, just the individual level. There's the neighborhood level. You know, when we're talking about schools and things of that nature, and I want to, you know, promote the idea, at least what we're doing is promoting the idea of unity, because in the unity there's strength. Now, I want you to kind of talk about, because you have been with the Korean industry, if you will, and they are unified.
Yes.
You have experienced real unity. You know that with them. Now with us, we fight over little things. You know, can you speak to that a little bit? You know, in terms of that.
Yes. So you know, look, that is definitely a serious hurdle and a really big issue. So now, in terms of unity, I'm gonna tell you something. I discovered this also the hard way. You know, I was somewhere, I was wearing the patch, right, for Grand Master Dragon Kim, and Master went by and said, so I figured he got an issue with black people. But no, he had an issue with the Koreans. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I had a Professor Cho. There are 75 universities for martial arts in Korea, 75 universities. And they're respected sometimes even more than legal and medical universities. You know, in Korea, you had like a gathering and people are talking, hey, I have kids. What's your son do? Oh, my son is a doctor. Oh, that's nice. And what's your daughter do? Oh, she's a lawyer. Oh, very good. And what about your son? Oh, my son is a sabonim. They go, huh? Hey, look. That's what it's like. Wow. It's like that kind of respect, okay? Now, I've had Professor Cho come to my school in New York. He wanted me to be an assistant professor with him. He has a school in Wisconsin. He just started. The only martial arts university in the US. So I actually went to that university. I got a master's degree in martial arts science there. So after being there, he wanted me to be assistant professor. And I said, I can't do that. I can't go over there. So then we started having a conversation about doing a branch in New York. He was looking for a hotel, a big building to do that. So I brought him over here. I didn't realize that in New York, there's a different organization. It's your organization, okay? And you don't do nothing here unless you pay them. That's how it is. You do nothing.
Kind of a mafioso type of thing.
Oh yeah. So now I came across this twice, and then it hit. The second time it hit me. The first time was on Staten Island when we'd have these sparring matches. Okay, come to the door. Okay, let's go warm up. There'd be a crew there, and I realized something. I had to beat the crap out of some people. They were trying to hurt me. I mean, literally trying to hurt me. I beat the crap out of Israeli Taekwondo. That was the best one. With the Spanish Taekwondo team, the captain of that, I had to beat the crap out of the Israeli Taekwondo team captain. That was the best one because they were cocky as hell. They were so cocky, you know, and you could tell what's being said. You speak Hebrew. Watch him kick us behind. Watch him, he's doing this. Right? And by the way, so that beating was a good beating because I never punched him. I never kicked him because I was already in trouble for beating up the Spanish team captain. Okay, a couple months earlier, right? But I never touched him. Okay, and he got beat down. He got beat down. The wall, the floor, the wall, the floor. Now, later on, I find out that there was some conflict going on, right? And where Grandmaster Kim is from, if I give him Grandmaster Choi, I could bring him out here. You can see his face if I mention it. He says, and we know where he was from. We'd never come here. The worst criminals come from that place. The worst killers, everything. So I was like, I'm more impressed. I'm more impressed because this is a righteous man, you know, right. And he takes no shit, you know. So, but it's like that. So, on Staten Island, Grandmaster Frankie Kim controls all of that, and his 3 sons and his daughter. That control of that. In Manhattan, in Brooklyn, in New Jersey, here is the Jiroquan group. And what they did, they put so much pressure on Professor Cho, right? They would not let him come into the city. So there's division. But the ones that are here, right? They're like that. They're like this, tight, and they do control everything. So yes, they have that kind of organization, right? And they do everything together. When something's going down, they're all down together. That's it. If they got any beef, that's squashed. They're like, the family's at stake. The nation's at stake. It's on. They forget everything. And once the major conflict is done, they didn't come back and work out their differences. So the difference between that and our people is we just stop talking. F him, I'm going my own way. Forget that, I'm doing my own thing. Yeah. So-and-so said this, so-and-so said that. The problem is our enemies are organized, sharp, smart, and ruthless. Okay, and they have things available to them that we could not imagine. And I am not kidding. Okay? I was fortunate enough to know quite a few people who were deep in the mix, from State Department, FBI, I mean, some Secret Service, Malaysian Secret Service, you know, special security personnel from Korea. So I got a lot of information, and I was surprised at what's really going on. Okay, there are highly trained killers employed, and it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm talking about a small army, and they have ways of killing people. They got hard kills and they got soft kills. Everything in between. Hard kill is like what happened with Kennedy. Pow! Right? That's a send a message. Okay. A soft kill is like Aaron Russo, who he did the movie Trading Places. He did the movie I'm Mad as Hell. He did the movie From Freedom to Fascism. So he was contacted. He's making some movies, waking people up. Contacted by the Rockefellers. You can find this interview. If you can't find it, I got it. I'll send it to you. And he said, this was the plan. Way back then. He said the plan was to get everybody chipped. be able to control everybody, to control all the money, the food, to control everything, the medicine, everything. They make people slaves. He said the plan was to topple 7 Arab nations. This was, by the way, all up before 9/11. A year after 9/11, he came out and he said, you know what? I knew about this stuff, but I had no idea. And when 9/11 happened, I still had no idea. He said, but once we went into Afghanistan and then in Iraq, and then all of a sudden they sort of poking elbows at Syria, and then think about it, what just happened. Look at the world today. He talked about that, and supposedly he died of cancer. That's called a soft kill.
So listen. I mean, so when you are, well, let's just say we're talking now, we're having a discussion right now, and these are realities. These are things that can be found. This is not, you know, the way they always identify conspiracy. You know, it's like when you say conspiracy, the question is, what other word comes up in your mind as soon as you say conspiracy? It becomes theory.
Well, that was part of the conditioning. They know they know what they're doing, right? That's part of the conditioning. So just like, for example, anti-Semitic, okay? The reporter had video footage showed the Israeli jet coming down and killed the kids on the beach playing soccer. He didn't say they did it. He showed, look what they did. So how could they do that? And he got, bam, you're anti-Semitic. And what happened? All the doors were closed to him, okay? So that's another term that's used a lot, which is kind of false, because if you look at it, because now today, you know, they keep lying. I don't get it. It's powerful that people can still lie and people can still accept it, because with all the scientists we have, besides computers, you got DNA, you have archaeology, you got history, you have so many different sciences you can bring together to prove that, well, you know what? Most people over there are actually Semitic, and a lot of people over there are actually not. I mean, you know, so that's a whole other story, you know? And it's nothing to do with anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish people either, because by the way, I was at a synagogue in Williamsburg, a special meeting. So I went, all these rabbis, I went. But when you get there, it's swimming people. And the guy at the door, he goes, "You here for?" I go, "Yes." And he goes, "Here's the address." So they know how to keep things legit and how to keep things safe. So I have to go to another place. I go there, and yes, the whole 9 yards. And they do not support the Zionists. They don't support that stuff. In fact, when there's demonstrations in Brooklyn, you go out to the mall, who's waving all the Palestinian flags? They are. But you're not going to hear that. You're not going to see that in the news, because they go, "Oh, that's anti-Semitic." But well, these guys are Jewish and they're religious, you know. But you're not going to hear that. So that's the issue. That's the problem. So when you say stuff like, "Oh, conspiracy theory," people are brainwashed like, "Oh, that's something stupid." No, because all the theories have come true. Everything has come true. Even Dr. Fauci, hey, someone made this virus. He said, "No, it's natural." Okay. By the way, remember this: stopworldcontrol.com. That's stopworldcontrol.com. Over 7,000 German doctors alone, a bunch of Italian doctors, there's so many scientists and doctors have got together, and they've proven all these conspiracy theories to be absolutely true. You can go to the site and you can actually find the patent for the COVID-19 test. It was patented in 2017. And no one told you about the military Olympics that was held in Wuhan, fall 2019. No one told you about that. And no one told you about how many of the French soldiers were all getting sick back then. They didn't tell you about that. So we all know the news is controlled. Facebook is controlled. Some of you may have realized or noticed that Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram all went down at the same time. Did anybody notice that? And it just, yes, last week. And it just happened to be the day after a whistleblower came out and said, listen, they're promoting evil. They're promoting conflict. They're doing stuff to affect teenagers' minds. Okay, they're probably responsible for a lot of teenage suicide. So that came out. So what happened? Shut down. Why? Because the guilty has to clean their house of evidence.
That's right. That's right. Let me, you are absolutely how I know you. You know what I mean? You are a wealth of information. I want to ask you, how does this knowledge, or having knowledge of the things that are really going on, not the things that is what one would call normal, which is really not real, you know?
Right, right.
But the things that are happening right now, how does it affect your martial arts? Does it make you, how does it affect you in your martial arts, in your teaching, in the reality of that?
Okay, so that is a really tough one now, because I have been wrestling and dealing with this for the last few months. So I have a monthly newsletter. In the newsletter, listen, I put the facts out there, and I seen where this was going, and I know where this is going.
Yes.
Right? The division everywhere. Divorce court is up. Even in my school, I was like, what? They're getting separated? What? They could? Yeah, over this vaccine stuff, right? So first of all, they use fear. And when fear goes up, intelligence always goes down. That's all there's to it. And the fear is being pushed out constantly. So now I'm faced with this. Those who are afraid and they're buying into the narrative, they lost their logic. They lost it's simple math. If you check for yourself, because I do this naturally, because why? I've done this for years, because I used to wonder, how many more cancers can there be? How can, I remember with Brother Carl, he talked about cancer and ill sickness, and it was something, I forgot the number, but it was something kind of like 1 out of 1,000 people will die of cancer. This year I was like, whoa, that was a big number. But as I got a little older, it was 1 out of 500, and no one blinked an eye. And then it was 1 out of 200, and then it was 1 out of 100 people. People should have been losing their mind at that time. Now they're saying out of 5 people, 3 will die of cancer. Are you kidding me? In fact, it probably got lower, maybe 2 out of 3. So the number keeps getting bigger. So I've been researching this. So now think about this. You can check for yourself, right? At Johns Hopkins University, or just Google it. There's a lot of groups that do it, right? And they're not conspiracy theorists. They got the facts and the numbers. You can look up how many people died of the flu in 2015. How many people died in 2016? 17, 18, 19. And you get to 2020. Massive drop. The flu took a vacation. The flu said, let me sit back here. Let COVID do its thing. How many people died of heart attack those same years? You can check. How many died of heart attack 2020? Drop for the first time ever. But you can check all these diseases, always been on the rise. Always on the rise. Why did they fall? Someone's playing with numbers. Yes, they may have died, and they may have died testing positive for COVID-19, but what actually killed them? Next question is, why was it a mandate, no autopsies? All over the world, that's like, what do you mean no autopsies? We gotta see what's going on. This is a whole new thing. We don't know what this is. We gotta find what's going on. Italy didn't buy that though. They actually did autopsies, and they came out with it. What was going on, which saved a lot of lives all over the world. Doctors were watching, listening, and by the way, Same thing with this. You hear that there's no other way. You got to wear a mask, stay at home, and you got to get the poison in your body. There's no other way. And it's a lie, because all over the world, they've been curing, healing people. I got doctors, I can't tell you where they are, who they are, right? But they come to me and say, yeah, we do this. Intravenous vitamin C, vitamin D, we do this, me and my wife, so. And so all over, but it's not in the news. So you gotta be aware, the people that own the news also own the medication. It's not separate things, okay? That's why, you know, you got a $50 ticket, a gift pass at Grubhub if you get the shot. That's why you get a lotto ticket if you get the shot. The list is, I have a list in the back though. There's a whole list. I was like, look at this. Never before in the history of the world. So now, I got people who's buying into that stuff. They're afraid, right? And not only that, people are not just getting the vaccine shot, they're getting everything else. I spoke to someone yesterday, and they said, yeah, I got my tetanus, and I got my this Friday, and I got my this, and next week I'm getting my whooping cough. It's a whooping cough. It is a vaccine gold rush.
Yes.
The sad thing is this. The sad thing is this. I look and I see dead people. Now, people say, how can you say that? Because I got many of them right here on the wall. People that I spoke to years ago. Okay, I spoke to, they didn't hear me, and they're gone. And people were in shock when they were gone. I got a lot of them, right? But now I'm looking at, I'm seeing more dead than ever before. Because something that came up at that meeting at the temple. By the way, Del Bigtree was there. He spoke live. A lot of top guys were there speaking, right? A lot of top virologists. And they explained this way. Israel is #1 in the world in vaccination. And there's no conspiracy theory. It's everywhere. You can check. 80% vaccination, right? As of 2 months ago, 80%. Who knows what it is now? Another fact, Israel has a surge.
Yes.
Now, fact. So now the math doesn't make sense, right? Another fact. European nations are not allowing Israeli citizens to go to their place if they've been vaccinated. What's going on here? Okay? It's not gonna be in our news because why? The same people making the money on the news. Now, what came up in that meeting with the top virologists and scientists, exactly how this thing works and all the problems they had developing it. And they still have problems and they rushed it because why? They're rushing to get this money out. So basically it's this, it's the spike protein. Now, there are actually 28 different proteins they could have chosen. I didn't know that because like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a virologist, I'm not a scientist, right? But I'm there with them, I'm listening, taking it in.
Yes.
He said, but they chose the most dangerous one. He said, but the immune system would not let that get past. Okay, so the minute it was in the body, the immune system went crazy because this thing is so dangerous. And a lot of times the immune system killed the host. And they're not telling you about the animal trials. All the animals died. That's why you hear nothing. You'll hear nothing about animal trials. They all died. So now they said, what they did is this. They said, we got to find a way of getting this past the immune system. And I wrote my newsletter, right, about the woman, right? It's right there. Her work is right there, how long she worked on it. And I said, what has she done to actually help people? I said, what she's doing, she's more in alignment with a bioweapon, not something to heal. Most healing is about how can we help the immune system? How can we boost the immune system? Not how can we sneak past it? So I'm a martial artist. And I'm like, listen, this sounds like a weapon to me. That's #1. So that's in my letter. What they said was this. They use nanoparticles, which is basically like miniature robots. They come together, they encapsulate the spike protein. And what happens is spike protein slips right past the immune system. It can't detect it. But also the problem is this though. It also goes past the brain-blood barrier, which God put in place for a reason, okay? Man's been here a long time. There's been a lot of crazy viruses, deadly, lethal ones. But no one busted out back then with, hey, we got a vaccine for you. What happened? Even the Black Plague that supposedly killed more than half of Europe. There was no vaccine. What happened? What happened was this: unsanitary life conditions, living with pigs, rats, eating rotten, all the, of course disease came out. And what happened? Most of the people that lived that way died. They lived unhealthy. And how many people, what kind of people was COVID-19 killing, by the way? People that had preconditions, right? Unhealthy lifestyles. Think about it.
You say, well, Black folks are the most prone to the COVID virus. Why is that? Because of the comorbidity conditions, diabetes, heart failure, obesity. Name all the comorbidity problems, we lead in that. Yes, well, let me ask you this. How did we get in this condition?
Come on.
Did you know that there's food that they prepare for you and me in the hood, that they kill us by zip code? When they know your zip code, they send the worst food in for us to consume. Talk to me.
Yes, sir.
Flint, Michigan is not an accident.
Yes, sir.
They're killing us through the water. You're a young man and have erectile dysfunction. I'm not meaning to be vulgar, but our old folks died with the ability to make a baby.
Yes, sir.
You need pills. You're already on death row and don't even know it. So now you're a perfect host for the COVID virus. And that's why it's killing us. But it's not that we don't have the means to do that. We don't really need a vaccine.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
We need more vitamin D.
Go ahead.
Hey, brothers and sisters, I have my African sister talking earlier. We're talking about our people in the Caribbean, in the little island that my mother is from. I think they had 15 deaths from the COVID virus. Do you know why the virus is not hitting the Caribbean like it's hitting America and Europe? Because we live in the sun.
Yes.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me that in the sun there are billions of vitamins that you can't get in anything that is created except through the sun. So when you live on the inside and don't go out in the sun, have no love for the sun to lay in it and bathe in it. My teacher taught me, take a bath at least once a year in the sun. Go someplace where you can take your clothes off and turn again. And when you've turned enough, your body has accepted billions of vitamins into it. And when the day of disease comes, the vitamins rise up to defend us against disease.
So it's complicated science made simple, but you can check for yourself. So now you want to check and see what these scientists are saying, and see the documents and all the real tests, and why they were why the hospitals were denying and Dr. Hirsch denying that other medications work that have been around for 70 years, and what they did in their tests, they try to prove that a medication was wrong when There's several doctors that have cured thousands of patients. Thousands, using stuff like zinc, vitamin D. So all these doctors were pushing. The World Health Organization, they were pushing, and they kept getting denied. Finally, the tide was too big. So they said, okay, we will do research. There's not enough data, we must do research. So what did Dr. Fauci's group do? Instead of using 400 milligrams of this medication with 50 milligrams of zinc, they use 2,400, which is almost a lethal dose. And they use a very small group. And they said, these were our findings. So now, that's not how you do research, but that's what they did. And this is what they said to shut the other doctors up. Basically saying, listen, we did what we did, that's how it is, and we ain't going there, because there's too much money to be made. Now, all the organizations in our neighborhoods, all these health places, they're going like, free shot. I can give you the data. I can show you. They're being paid $11 million here, $8 million there. That's why people are giving stuff away, because they're getting paid big time. The money is flowing in like crazy, and the stocks are soaring. Anyway, back to you. I didn't get to how it's affected me. I just showed you why it's affected me. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, but if you want to touch that would be fine. I just want to say this to the audience, because somebody comes in at a certain time on the show, and we're talking medical, whatever, and you don't know. Well, let me just say something to you and to everyone, that what is a true martial artist is one who looks at the dangers in the world and gives the student what they need to defend themselves against the dangers that you're going to face. So we don't want to talk about something that is not real, but what Sabanim, what Grand Master is talking about right now is a reality, and it is for those who want to truly understand how to defend themselves. Don't believe that those who are handing out this stuff is for you. You really have to do a little history. But the thing is, like you mentioned it. You said fear. Fear causes intelligence to go down.
That's right.
So instead of looking into the things and being an open-minded individual to make a determination based on true science, real information, actual facts, as we call it, one would want to just give in to what someone else is saying. Do this and you're good.
And history.
And absolutely.
Speaking of history, these things get taken down a lot, but you can actually check for yourself. So a little bit of history, right? Because it leads up to today. You got to hear what these people are saying. This was done by professional military personnel, okay? Colonels, lieutenants, the medical military people. Is called Beyond Treason. So you can find it on YouTube, right? If you want, I can give you an actual copy, but you can find it on YouTube. It's called Beyond Treason. And it starts with this. It shows you right there how they experimented on US soldiers with the nuclear bomb. They're all sitting there, the bomb's going off.
Wait a minute now. Listen, for all of you out there, I know you're out there and you're saying, oh my God, I don't believe this. Well, see, you don't believe that, but you don't have any knowledge of.
Right.
But you have to open up your mind. I'm only saying that because I felt one of you. I felt you just thinking like that. So I just had to say that. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. So I just point the finger. I said, look, go check for yourself. Listen to these people. Look at them. One of the guys on there, I remember the commercial. These would be this recruitment commercial. This is Lieutenant so-and-so, the Army Rangers, blah, blah, blah. He's bad, he's awesome. You could be one of us. He's on there. He's messed up and he's talking. So it starts with the nuke thing, right? and they put them downwind, right? And no one talks about what happened to these soldiers. Okay, they were all exposed. We know what happened to them. Done for. Okay, the video was right there. Now, the same thing happened on the Bikini Islands. You know where the bikini comes from? Before the French stole it and called it the bikini, right? It's from the Bikini Islands. Okay, there are people there. Okay, brown people, and what they did, they said, "We're here to help you. We want to make life better for you." And what they, you look up the experiments, nuclear experiments in the Bikini Islands. Okay, you can hear these people, their own voice, what they're saying. And what they did, they exploded nukes off the island. And they kept coming by the test and see, oh, how much radiation? Oh, there was an accident, we're gonna help you. You gotta see for yourself, okay? The truth of the matter is, look, this world is ruled by some wicked, wicked people. Any fool can see that not something is wrong, almost everything is wrong. It's not fitting right. And if you're not with righteousness and God, you're out there on your own, okay, with the wicked wolves. So I point the finger this way and that way so people can see for themselves. Look up, look at what they're saying, right? Now, I give you the long and the short. Number one, they mess up.
Let me say, we're right at that time. So I mean, because I could see that you are full of information. I mean, I didn't even get into the conversation or the part because you're full of health understanding and whatnot and things of that nature. But I want to ask you if you would open up to another talk.
Yes.
You know, that I could have you on again, and I want to go into more of what we're talking about, but I want to go into health and things that we can do to help ourselves and whatnot, you know, in this time. It's really in any time.
You're right. That is an absolute must. I mean, look, I try to put it lightly, right? But the plans and the works to get rid of a lot of us. It really is.
Yes, sir.
This was supposed to be completed by 2050. Then they put a rush on it. Then they said, you know what? We need to lower the population much faster. Maybe 2030. But then it was infighting. It was infighting, and things got pushed a lot faster. And that's why we have all this chaos and the different vaccines, the whole bit. So luckily, the enemy has infighting. And the enemy, if your enemy is your friend, it's for a short time. So the health thing's important. I will say this. If you go to, what's his name? If you go to Happy Kicks Martial Arts, you go to playlists, as something called Health Defense. It used to be called Health, but then all of a sudden they gave me issues. I said, they gave me issues. I said, it's just health, it's the word health. Give me issues, so I had to change it. Okay, Marshall's Health Defense. The very first one is about a doctor, an hour long. He has all the data, all the research about vitamin D, going back to the beginning of researches of vitamin D. He talks about the Germans who follow people to the grave, okay? Vitamin D is not just a vitamin. It does 150 functions in your body. But one of the top functions is this. Vitamin D is a damn general. In herbal medicine, there are lots of herbs. There are lots of herbs. Those are different things. But the high quality ginseng, when you add that to the mixture, now it's like, it changes everything. Because that ginseng is like a general. Also, all the herbs, it works differently, right? Coordinated, organized, like an army. Vitamin D does this with your immune system. When something comes to attack you, vitamin D goes, okay, drink this and see this, and that's what it does. They're not telling you this. Not one mention of vitamin